The movie begins in 2020, where some astronauts and their families are celebrating the upcoming first-ever mission to Mars. Luke Graham, the designated commander of Mission 1, tries to comfort his son because he does not want his dad to leave. A few moments later, the group is joined by their colleague and recent widower, Jim McConnell. Being a brilliant pilot, this mission was initially Jim's, but he stepped down when his wife's health started deteriorating, and Luke had to take over. Luke expresses his guilt, but Jim harbors no grudge and hugs him. However, when Luke and Woody return to the party, Jim wistfully steps into the sandbox and leaves a footprint, imagining it to be Mars. 13 months later, Luke and his team land on Mars. As their mini-robot explores the surface while taking pictures, the crew notices a white crystalline formation 16 kilometers into the Cydonia region. They report this through the World Space Station to Jim and the other astronauts, who are communicating with the crew from the Mars Mission Control Room. After Luke explains that this could be the basis of future human civilization, the team sets out to investigate the formation up close. They leave their spacecraft and tread toward the bright formation, when suddenly they hear a strange, dull noise on their communication systems. Believing it to be their robot's glitch, they ignore it and continue walking toward the mountain. When their radar depicts the presence of metal beneath the mountain, the team decides to increase the radar's power. Suddenly, the signal is lost, followed by silence. Just then, the sand around them starts shifting, and before the crew can figure it out, a huge whirlwind surrounds the mountain. As the vortex grows, the astronauts are sucked in along with debris and huge rocks, and the entire team dies, except for Luke. When the dust settles down, the formation turns out to be a gigantic humanoid face. Back at the space station, the crew notices a powerful burst of energy from the electromagnetic pulse. While everyone discusses how to proceed, they receive a faint signal from the Mars mission camp, showing a video footage of an injured Luke bearing the unfortunate news. The transmission gets cut off abruptly, so Jim suggests sending a rescue team to Mars. His superior, Ray, is not too thrilled, as he is not sure what they are up against. Also, Ray is still upset that Jim withdrew from this mission initially, but Woody defends Jim, reminding Ray how it was Jim and his wife who studied and designed the original mission. Begrudgingly, Ray agrees. Moments later, a team of 4, including Commander Woody, his wife Terry, Jim, and technician Phil is readied, and Mars 2 leaves for Mars. Just as Jim had predicted, the rescue ship travels through space without any issues. Many weeks go by, and one day, Woody notices a storm headed toward Mars 1 camp, which could envelope the planet for a whole year, making it inaccessible. The satellite images of Mars show 3 burial mounds, which the team assumes are the graves of the deceased astronauts. Just as they decide to scan the area for radiation levels, a magnetic storm surrounds the planet and obscures the satellite's view. Woody and Jim both believe that this unusual storm couldn't possibly be caused by the earthquake that happened 6 months earlier. Just then, they receive a transmission from the control room, and Ray gives them permission to land on Mars. As the others prepare to enter Mars's orbit, Jim reminisces about his wife, as it was her dream to land on Mars. Phil and Terry are performing regular system checks when suddenly, a micrometeoroid cuts through the ship and injures Phil's hand. As it happens, the ship is stuck in a meteoroid swarm, which causes damage to the primary system and also the external fuel lines. A hole in the ship's hull causes the pressure to drop, but Woody quickly repairs it. However, the pressure keeps dropping, which means there must be multiple holes in the ship. Woody steps out to locate the sources, but is unable to do so due to the large size of their ship. Just then, Terry has an amazing idea. She squeezes a juice pack, and the juice floats toward the breach. Woody notices it seeping through and swiftly mends it with a liquid sealant. The low pressure almost causes Jim to pass out, but with Woody's speedy repairs, the pressure stabilizes. Despite wanting to check the entire ship, Woody realizes they are about to enter Mars orbit, so he returns inside. Just as they ignite the engines, the fuel leaks into space and catches fire, damaging the ship. Since the ship stops responding to any commands, the crew has no option but to suit up and spacewalk their way toward the supply module left in orbit by Mars 4. Once outside, the crew realizes that the supply module is too far away, so Woody uses his rocket pack to propel himself toward the module. However, he runs out of fuel, so he has to switch to autonomous mode. He manages to attach a tether to the module, but loses grip and is propelled further toward Mars. Once the rest of the crew lands on the module, Terry detaches herself and uses her harpoon to save Woody, but he is too far away. Fearing for his wife's safety, Woody expresses his love for her and takes his helmet off, which instantly kills him. Terry breaks down, but Jim consoles her until she returns. Meanwhile, Ray is informed that Mars 2 has stopped responding, and he fears he has lost his team until he learns that the module landed on Mars, which is something only Jim could have done. Eventually, the crew makes it to the surface, and once they set the national flag on Martian soil, they start repairing the Earth Return Vehicle, ERV, with the computer systems they have brought along. They are relieved to find traces of life on the first team's spacecraft. Jim heads toward the greenhouse and notices that the plants are thriving. Suddenly, someone attacks him, and it's none other than Luke, who thinks this is just a hallucination. Jim tries to snap him out of his hostility, reminding him of his wife and son. Luke finally comes to his senses and starts sobbing, as all these months of being stranded on a distant planet have made him lose his grasp on reality. Luke tells them all about the mountain, the distinctive low noise, and the humanoid face. He has even decoded the pulses of those sounds to a 3D representation of a human-like DNA, but it's missing a pair of chromosomes. Analyzing the whole situation, Jim realizes that it is a test, and they need to complete the DNA sequence to pass the test. Terry and Phil question him, but he asks them to honor their fallen teammates, so they agree. Once they are ready, they get close to the mountain and send the rover to broadcast the complete signal through its radar. After the transmission, an opening appears in the side of the formation, emitting bright light, leaving Phil by the ship with orders to evacuate with or without them. The astronauts enter the bright room, and the entrance seals itself, disconnecting them from Phil. They realize that the atmosphere inside resembles that of Earth's, and they safely remove their helmets and breathe. Next, they walk through another room, which leads them to a 3D projection of the solar system. A holographic Martian appears and reveals that Mars was once a habitable planet until a huge asteroid struck it and destroyed the ecosystem. While all Martians left for another galaxy, one spaceship was sent to Earth to create life, with their life forms as microscopic bacteria. Through the years, these life forms evolved into animals and plants, and humans. This is how they intended for their descendants to find their way back to Mars someday. Just then, the astronauts' communication with Phil is restored, and he informs them of a massive storm headed their way, urging them to get out. While Terry and Luke run toward the exit, Jim decides to stay back, as he deciphers that the Martians are inviting one of them to their new home. Terry and Luke bid farewell to Jim and rush toward Phil's ship, while Jim finds himself entering a capsule that takes him into a Martian spaceship. When he notices the capsule filling with water, he panics. But moments later, he realizes that he can breathe fine underwater. Happily, he recalls all special moments with his friends as he prepares for what lies ahead. In the end, the humanoid face on the surface emits a tall column of fire, and the Martian ship is propelled to another galaxy, while Phil and the astronauts take off in their ERV. With that, the movie ends. Thanks for watching Mission to Mars. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next time.